Hi everyone, welcome to the second part of our chapter on groups and organization. In this section, we'll look at group size and structure. So to understand how different groups work, sociologists study group dynamics, or the ways in which individuals affect groups and the ways in which groups influence individuals. So the study of group dynamics focuses on group size, leadership, and conformity, and this is exactly what we're focusing on in this section. We'll first discuss dyads, triads, and large groups, looking at group size, followed with group leadership, and finally conformity. So George Simmel was one of the first sociologists to extensively study group size and the relationship between group members. So he noted that the size of the group is significant for its dynamics. So he identified a dyad as a social group containing two members. It is the smallest and most fragile of all human groupings. Marriages and love affairs are examples. If one member loses interest, the dyad collapses. A triad is a group of three persons. A married couple with a first child, for example, or a group of three friends. Triads basically are stronger than dyads, but are still extremely unstable. It is not uncommon for coalitions to form in which there is alignment of some members of the group. It is not common for coalitions to form in which there is alignment of some members of the group against another. Often one member becomes an arbitrator or mediator because he or she always tries to settle disagreements between the other two members of the group. As more members are added to a group, intensity decreases and stability increases, for there are more linkages between more people within the group, in this case the larger groups, larger than dyads or triads. The groups develop a more formal structure to accomplish their goals, for instance by having a president, treasurer, and so on. This structure enables groups to survive over time. However, although there is definitely more tension, more intense within the group, as the larger groups include more members, there are also more pressure, and there's also more risk for division and cohesion as well. So research by sociologists Darley and Latani, they found that as groups grow larger, they tend to break into smaller groups. People are less willing to take individual responsibility, perhaps because there is diffusion of responsibility, and they also interact more formally toward one another. Next, we'll look at group leadership. So a leader may be defined as someone who influences the behavior of others. Sociologists would disagree that people are born to be leaders. Rather, they find that people with certain characteristics are more likely to become leaders. Those who represent the group's values are seen as capable of leading the group out of crisis, are often more talkative, express determination and self-confidence, are taller, or are judged better looking. There are two types of group leaders based on leadership function, or the main focus or goal of the leader. So one type is called instrumental leader, who are much more task-oriented. They try to keep the group moving toward its goals, reminding the members of what they are trying to accomplish. On the other hand, expressive or socio-emotional leaders are less likely to be recognized as leaders, but help with the group's morale. These leaders may have to minimize the friction that instrumental leaders necessarily create. There are 3 types of leadership styles, which is defined as the style a leader uses to achieve goals or elicit action from group members. So keep in mind that different situations require different leadership styles. Authoritarian leaders are known for, or they're characterized as those who give orders and frequently do not explain why they praised or condemned a person's work. Here I've included a video for you that discussed why voters choose authoritarian leaders, and this video is very interesting because the person who made the video actually referenced academic research and findings. So I highly encourage you to watch this video. So go ahead and stop this video so that way you can watch the YouTube video. This next video by John Oliver is take a slightly a much more extensive look at authoritarian leaders around the world, the kinds of things that they imposed onto their citizens, and I personally found it very, very interesting, and I highly recommend that you watch it. All right, so in addition to authoritarian leader, another type of leader is democratic leader. These type of leaders try to gain consensus by explaining proposed actions, suggesting alternative approaches, and giving facts as a basis for their evaluation of the members' work. So unlike authoritarian, they actually try to explain and give rationale or evidential basis to the team, and they also try to build consensus among all the members of the group, whereas under authoritarian leaders, often he or she is the one who make decisions and rules and laws, and oftentimes don't explain it to the members of the groups in which he or she is leading. A third type of leadership style is laissez-faire leaders, or hands-off leaders. They are seen as passive and give the group almost total freedom to do as it wishes. So when we discuss groups and leadership, it's very important to also think about the conformity. Conformity is the extent to which an individual complies with group or societal norms. And I personally really, really like this video about social conformity. So please stop our lecture video so you can watch this short YouTube video that illustrates the idea of social conformity. Okay, so I like to also reference Solomon Asch experiment on conformity. Here is this video about his work. So again, by now you should be already convinced that groups have a significant degree of influence over people's attitudes and action. So this study by Dr. Solomon Asch indicates that people are strongly influenced by peer pressure and have a need to belong. Asch was interested in seeing whether individuals would resist the temptation to change a correct response to an incorrect response because of peer pressure. So Asch held cards up in front of small groups of people and asked which sets of cards matched. One at a time, they were supposed to respond aloud. All but one of the group members was a Confederate, having been told in advance by the researcher how to answer the question. After 2 trials in which everyone answered correctly, the Confederates intentionally answered incorrectly, as they had previously been instructed to do so by the researchers, including Dr. Ash, one of the researchers. So of the 50 people tested, 33% ended up giving the incorrect answers at least half of the time, even though they knew the answers were wrong. Only 25% always gave the right answer despite the peer pressure. So another related experiment was done by Stanley Milgram, and I've included a video here for you. So Dr. Milgram sought to determine why otherwise good people apparently participated in the Nazis' slaughter of Jews and others. Milgram experiments show how difficult it is for individuals to challenge people in positions of authority. He conducted experiments in which one person, the teacher, was instructed to administer an electric shock to the other person, the learner, for each wrong answer given to certain questions, and to increase the voltage of the shock after each wrong answer. In fact, the learner was playing a role, intentionally giving wrong answers but only pretending to be receiving an electrical shock. Since a person in apparent authority, the scientist in white cloak, part of the university lab, this person continually stated that the experiment had to go on. Most of the teachers, right, and they're playing that role, and these are not real teachers, they gave into that authority and continue to administer the shocks, even when they appear to produce extreme pain on the learners. So the scientific community was very disturbed by Milgram's findings. Of course, his study was pioneering in his day for showing why do we do harmful, mean, possibly even evil things onto others, people, in the eyes of authority. But keep in mind that his study was also controversial as well because of his methods. It was seen as somewhat, or I shouldn't say somewhat, but was extremely unethical. So after his study, many associations of social researchers adopted codes of ethics to require that subjects be informed of the nature and purpose of social research, and almost all deception was banned. So if now, since Milgram studies, if you're participating in any kind of scientific research now, you have to be informed of the nature of the study, its purpose, and basically as someone who's participating, everything, at least your role in the study, should be revealed to you rather than being deceived for the purpose of the scientific study. So a related topic idea to conformity is groupthink. This is situations in which a group of people think alike, and any suggestion of alternatives becomes a sign of disloyalty. So as you can see, the Ash and Milgram experience demonstrate how groupthink can develop. And U.S. history provides many examples of groupthink, many of which have been very tragic. So, for example, presidents and their inner circles have committed themselves to a single course of action, such as, for example, the refusal to believe the Japanese might attack Pearl Harbor, or continuing expanding the war in Vietnam when it wasn't the right decision, especially in hindsight now. And then, of course, the Watergate scandal. So even when objective evidence showed the course to be wrong, the president and his inner circles continue to be committed to that single course of action that they all agree was right. So, so the leaders became cut off, because of this groupthink. They became cut off from information that did not coincide with their own opinions. So another example is of groupthink is two space shuttle disasters, Challenger and Columbia, which is examples of how NASA engineers had limited view of their options in either launching or landing the shuttle. In each case, the decision resulted in a disaster. So I encourage you to go ahead and look up to do a little bit more research about these two shuttle disasters to learn more how groupthink in the end caused such a tragedy to NASA and of course to American society. So Challenger and Columbia space shuttle missions. Okay, so groupthink can be prevented only by ensuring that leaders regularly are exposed to individuals who have views conflicting with those of the inner circle. Specifically, we need to encourage and circulate research results that provide the greatest number of options for decision makers to consider in an atmosphere of free expression and academic freedom. So that ends the second part of our chapter. In the next part, we will look at formal organizations.